Ladies and gentlemen, if we can begin to take seats, please. We're going to begin services in just a moment. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, as we begin our services, if we can please kindly turn off all cell phones or electronic devices, or please place them on silent. Thank you.
Esainai el heharim meyayin yavo Ezri meim Adonai Ose shamayim shamayim va'aretz alitin lamot raglecha al yanu shomrecha hine lo yanum v'lo yishan shomer Yisrael Adonai shomrecha Adonai tzilcha al yad yeminecha yomam hashemesh lo yakeka v'yareach balayla Adonai yishmorcha mikora yishmor et nafshecha Adonai yishmor tzetecha uvoecha me'ata ve'ad olam. I turn my eyes to the mountains. From where will my help come? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your guardian will not slumber. See, the guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. Adonai is your guardian. Adonai is your protection at your right hand. By day the sun will not strike you, nor the moon by night. Adonai will guard you from all harm. God will guard your life. Adonai will guard your going and coming, now and forever. Mourning is the price we pay for having the courage to love others. Even in grief, we know that the wonder of human life is too complex and too magnificent to be memorialized in endless pain. The gifts of spirit our loved ones gave us cannot be measured or weighed, nor can they be lost or even tarnished by time. Even in our darkest hours, we know that some of their light and their warmth will always be with us, bringing comfort and courage, and in the fullness of time, healing and peace. Birth is a beginning, and death a destination. And life is a journey, from childhood to maturity, from youth to age, from innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion, and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength or strength to weakness, and often back again. From health to sickness, and back we pray to health again. From offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking back or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey, stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning, and death a destination, and life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage to life everlasting. Death has stilled the heart of Saul Gantz. We gather here this afternoon to share our sorrow, to thank God for the gift of his 96 years of life, and to entrust Saul to the gentle stillness of eternity. In truth, the many sparks of an individual's life are contained within the flowing memories of all those who were touched by him. You each hold this precious man in your hearts and minds in your own unique ways. Today, our hearts go out especially to Saul's children, Erica, David, and Beth, and their spouses, Rich, Kristen, and Jeff. We think of his grandchildren, Rachel, Charlotte, and Zoe, Dylan, Caleb, and Reed, and Hannah and Josh. Saul's legacy lives on as well in his great-grandchildren, Ruthie, Emmett, and Ariella. Saul Gantz was truly one of a kind. He always had a special spark and a twinkle in his eye, full of energy and curiosity and creativity. Saul loved life. And he was blessed to spend a third of his life in happy, busy, fulfilling retirement. What a blessing. Whether it was golf or gardening, playing tennis, swimming, reading, or creating, he was always busy, always on the move. You could easily say Saul was a true character. I always got such a kick out of him. He was a happy guy who always treated people with kindness. Saul was funny and animated and got so excited about things that interested him. He had a deep love for his beautiful family. The Saul sparkle never seemed to dim until, of course, the loss of his beloved Katzy only 15 months ago. They were partners in life and love for 72 years. He was bereft without her. And now there is comfort in believing that Saul and Katzy are side by side again, holding hands. In loving tribute, it's truly my honor to call upon some members of Saul's family to paint a fuller picture of this special man. First, we'll hear from Saul's son, Dave.
Thanks, Anita. Okay, I'm going to try to get through this. Got my water, got my tissues, got my stimmy dents, the essentials. I want to thank everybody for coming out today to honor and celebrate our father, grandfather, great-grandfather and friend, the patriarch of our family, Saul Gantz. I want to give a special thank you to my sister Erica and my brother-in-law Richard, who took such loving care of Saul, not only in the last days of his life, but over the last 5 years when Katzy and Saul moved into the assisted living. They were always on call, so thank you. Thank you so much. Breathe, breathe, breathe. It's difficult to put into words or sum up a life well lived for 96 years in a short memorial. The good thing is that Saul's legacy lives on in all of us. The past year was the most difficult for Dad since the passing of his beloved Katzy. Every time we talked or I visited him, he would cry how much he missed Mom. So do we. Dad, you can rest easy now. You are with your beloved Katzy. Saul was born in the Bronx in 1927, the third child of Benjamin and Esther Gantz, immigrants from Eastern Europe. He had two older brothers, Robert and David, and he attended and graduated from DeWitt Clinton High School. He then went on to City College, Columbia University, and NYU, where he received his degree in dentistry. One summer while in high school, Saul got a job at a summer camp in the Catskills as a tennis instructor, but Dad didn't know how to play tennis. So what did Saul do? He went to the local library. You guys remember what a library looks like? Don't know that. Okay, anyway. And he took out books on tennis and learned how to play and was a terrific tennis instructor. Saul became an avid tennis player, and he played all his life, maybe except for the last, 10 or 15 years he had to stop playing. He taught me how to play tennis, and we would have intense matches. And I was known to break maybe 2 or 3 rackets when the old man would beat me, right? I calmed down a little bit, but I could beat him at the end, thank goodness. When Saul graduated from DeWitt Clinton High School, World War II was still raging, and his older brothers who were serving in the military did not want their younger brother to be drafted. So Saul and a friend from the Bronx, I think his name was Izzy, enlisted in the Merchant Marines, and Saul was stationed in Sheepshead Bay, Brooklyn. Nice, safe place, away from those rotten Nazis. The war ended, and Saul began to pursue his academics and his career. He met his beloved Katzy in a biology class in Queens College because their names were Gantz and Gingold, and they were seated next to each other. They began dating, and the first movie date was The Treasure of Sierra Madre, a Humphrey Bogart classic. So if you want to pay homage to Katzy and Saul, go home and watch The Treasure of Sierra Madre. And you don't need no stinking badges. They were married in 1950, and the Katzy and Saul show was born. Saul loved and lived for his family, the children, Erica, Beth, and me, the grandchildren, Rachel, Charlotte, Zoe, Dylan, Caleb, Reed, Hannah, and Josh, his great-grandchildren, Ruthie, Emmett, and now Ariella. And he always welcomed and loved all the family partners, Richard, Kristen, Jeff, Jay, Jake, Joe, and Justin. Wow, that's a lot of J's. Whew. Thank you, Amina, for breaking up the, right? Thanks. Whew, we need a break there. He said until the day he died how lucky he was to have such a loving and caring family. It was all about family. While in dental school, Sol would hold many jobs during the summer months because school wasn't in session in those days. At the time, Sol and Katzy and little Erica lived in Queens with Grandma Violet, Katzy's mom. Sol drove a taxi cab. We have his hack license, right? We found his hack license in the apartment. A Good Humor ice cream truck, and a diaper pickup and delivery service. Now remember, in the 1950s, there were no disposable diapers. So Sol, he often said, you drove that diaper truck fast and make sure you were driving downwind. We moved to South Jersey in 1960, and Sol opened his own dental practice in Merchantville, New Jersey, where he practiced for over 35 years. Dad was an avid sports fan and athlete. As a boy, he was a huge Yankees fan, and in those days, in the 30s and 40s, the turnstiles needed to be operated manually. So Sol and his friends would turn the turnstiles at Yankee Stadium, and then the guards will allow them to go in and sit up in the grandstands for free and see the Bronx Bombers. That is how Sol was in attendance in the July 4th, 1939 game when Lou Gehrig gave his famous speech that although Gehrig was suffering from ALS, he considered himself the luckiest man on the face of the earth. Sol became then a huge Philadelphia sports fan, although he continued to root for the Yankees. And he never held it against me when I became a Mets fan. But his joy and misery was found in the 76ers, the Phillies, and the Eagles. I have too many stories to tell about all the games we watched and attended together, so I'll just give you a few. I have so many stories. The Eagles of the late 60s and 70s were terrible. They were awful. So many of you remember this. But in those days, the home games weren't televised, and there was no internet, okay? So if you were a fan and you had tickets, you went to the game. Sol shared season tickets with a group of friends. Where's Eddie Feldman? Yeah, right. He shared tickets with Eddie Feldman. And, right, it would be raining or snowing or miserably cold, but we would layer up and go to the game. And usually leave in the third quarter because the Eagles are getting killed, right? Sol liked to claim that we invented the garbage bag as the best rain gear since we went through so many miserable rainy games. We would come home from the games cold and wet. Katzy would have hot chocolate for us, and Sol would make a fire by the fireplace. The Eagles finally became a good team in the 80s, and by then Beth was going to the games. I had moved to New York, so she had the joy of seeing a winner. Okay. Our last family party, though, that was hosted at the old house at 310 Monmouth Drive was the Eagles' Super Bowl victory party over those horrible Patriots. February 2018. So, Solly, baby, you got your Super Bowl win. Sol is sun in Spanish, and he was sunshine for our family. He was all about summer, baseball, and outdoors. He got us all outside, my sisters and I, in his magical space he built in the backyard with a pool, bird feeders, his gardens, and his little TV to sit out there and watch the Philly games. Sol was an avid and incredible gardener. So to quote my son, how does a tough Jewish boy from the Bronx get a green thumb? Again, what did Sol do? He went to the library. And he got out books, and he did research on soils and drainage and aeration and how to grow flowers from seeds. One summer while I was in high school, Sol decided he wanted to put in a rose garden all around the pool, and I was the labor. I spent the summer building the garden to Dad's specifications, and boy, did we argue. Not only did I not want to do the work, I wanted to be out playing ball with my friends, but I was doing 8 hours of labor digging, and after you do that for 8 hours, I couldn't throw a baseball anymore. All right? But in the end, it was a gorgeous garden among all his other gardens. And then later on, for the grandkids, he built a goldfish pond. I was no longer the labor then. Then he could bring his grandchildren down to the pond, remember that? And feed those goldfish. God, he loved that. I don't know how many goldfish he went through. He kept telling us they were the same ones, but right, we were a little nervous about how many he was going through. But this became a summertime ritual for many years as we would all flock to Casa, Sol, and Katzy to enjoy the sunshine and the family. Sitting out back by the pool, watching a Phillies game on his little TV while his kids and grandkids played in the pool, and then stopped by to see what the score was. We know that made him the happiest. He loved the summertime, and for many years, he and Katsy had Phillies season tickets for afternoon businessman special games where they would sit behind the home plate scoring the game. Every winter, once retired, they would go down to Florida, Clearwater, to see the spring training games of the Phillies and the Yankees. Solly baby loved this. And then all the children and grandchildren would travel down during spring breaks to see the games and be with him. These are cherished memories that we will never forget. Sol was a good athlete. He was an excellent swimmer and tennis player and an amazing bowler. He bowled 2 perfect games. That's a score of 300, 2 of them. And every year, almost every year, he won the men's high league bowling average. He accumulated so many trophies in the house, we ended up putting them all in the basement where they collected dust for many, many years. He actually then gave up bowling because he got bored with it, and he picked up golf, which you never get good at. Okay? But Sol actually had 2 hole-in-ones. Right? He was terrific. Right? And I loved his comment about golf. He said he loved to play golf, and he believed that you did not play golf to win, but just to play. He enjoyed the play. But there is nothing Sol enjoyed more than getting together with family for dinners and cookouts and parties. Rosh Hashanah or Thanksgiving or Passover or birthdays or anniversaries or Memorial Day and July 4th barbecue in the back by the pool. He would put on the funny hats or costumes that my wife would bring for the festivities. He was laughter and joy. Sol loved to laugh. If you went to a movie with Sol and sat next to him and it was a comedy, forget about it. You would not hear the jokes. He was laughing so hard. I remember going to see Mel Brooks' Blazing Saddles with Dad, and I had to go a second time because I missed half the jokes. There was an enjoyment of life. I know this is really silly, and I'm going to try to get through this. But it's about the little things in life that you remember, that you cherish. Breathe, David. Breathe, David. One of the things I will miss the most is our Sunday conversations during the football season on the Eagles. Right? I moved to New York in 1980, and every Sunday we would talk on the phone before a game or at halftime or after the game. Because in those days, the Eagle games weren't televised in New York, and there was no internet that you could watch the game, right? Right? So I would call Sol up before the game, and we would do our pregame analysis. He would call me at halftime to give me the score. And then he'd call me after the game. He'd tell me how they messed up, right? And this continued all the way through last season. And I'm not going to talk about the demise of their Eagles last season, okay? Anyway, that's what I'm going to miss. I'm going to miss that Sunday conversation with my dad. And getting that football analysis from my old man. Dad, I want to thank you for being there for me and for leaving such a wonderful, loving legacy for your family and friends. You were a great husband, father, grandfather, great-grandfather, and friend to many. You gave us the example to how to live the good life and care for others, and I hope I can live up to your standards. I love you, Dad, and I consider myself the luckiest son alive. God bless you, sweet Sol. Rest easy. Thank you. I made it. Thank you, Anita.
Well done. I'd like to invite Sol's grandson, Dave, and Kristen's son, Dylan, to share his memories.
You're a tough act to follow, Dad. My grandpa Saul made me laugh, and he made me feel safe. When I was 16 and I first got my learner's permit, he had me drive him from my hometown of New Rochelle to his old hood in the Bronx, Jerome Avenue. It was not the same neighborhood he left it, but Saul walked those streets as an old local boy. No one bothered us. No one even batted an eye. We arrived at the building he grew up in. The first thing he said was, "There didn't used to be bars on these windows." I nodded, looking around a little nervously. And then he pointed across the street and told me the window where a lady of the night used to work. But he didn't use those words. One feeling I remember about that day vividly as a 16-year-old who would be embarrassed or mortified at any elders being around them. I felt none of that with Saul. I felt warm and safe and fun and laughter and home. With Saul, I always felt pride. I'll remember the way he said yes when we all didn't believe something he said, or his two-handed dismissal of something he didn't agree with or thought was stupid. I'll remember doing nuzzies with him as a young kid and how much he loved children and babies, and he always seemed like a big overgrown kid to me when I saw him like that when I was grown. I remember how he would walk out to the curb and to the street and put his hands to his nose and his hands to his ears to wave goodbye to me as my mom and dad drove us away from the house in Cherry Hill. I'll remember how he named the goldfish after us in the koi pond. They were the same goldfish, Dad. They never died. They were the same ones. It was the oldest goldfish ever. I'll remember how meticulously he kept his garden. Something as a kid I didn't appreciate, but now respect so much because I can't keep a plant alive in my apartment to save my life. I'll remember the only thing he could cook was French toast and how proud he was of his French toast. And it was pretty good. It was good French toast. No milk. I'll remember being the only one awake in the house watching a movie at 2 a.m. as he came down for his nightly glass of port in his white t-shirt and his underwear. And he would never make me go back up to bed. He'd drink his wine and watch with me and talk with me. I'll remember making him laugh, and when I got older, really seeing myself in him and sharing unspoken moments of understanding and laughter. I'll remember the bickering with Katsy that was also somehow love. I'll remember all the different ways he would say, "Cats." I'll remember seeing them together and totally and utterly in love and thinking that was just regular, as if every other kid in first grade had a Katsy and Saul. They didn't. I know that now. I understand how lucky I am. He misses Katsy something fierce. That's what my Uncle Rocky said about Saul recently. Something fierce. He just couldn't live without Katsy. We all saw it. That's love, real love. I think we all learned love from Katsy and Saul, how to love your family and how to love your person. Anyone who knows me knows about Katsy and Saul. I'm quick and proud to tell stories about them and their upbringings and the little anecdotes that have become like bowls of warm chicken soup for me. After Saul passed away, a friend of mine who never met either of them called me to share his condolences. We spoke for a while about Saul and his overall dopeness. That means like cool. I spoke of how proud I am to come from Saul, how incredible of a man Saul was. I spoke of where Saul came from, a poor Jew from the Bronx, born in 1927, when horses and carriages were a usual sight, and he would walk to school uphill, both ways, barefoot, and always in the snow, and everything was a nickel. I spoke of how he came out of the tenements with nothing and made something, as Saul would say, into the fruits of his loins. I was proud that my tales of my family had reached my friend, and then I asked my friend how he was doing. He has been dating a young lady he tells me he is going to spend the rest of his life with. He said to me, "Dylan, I'm doing great. I'm with my Katsy." He really said that because that's what it is. That's what the dream is. Not to find your one true love, not to find your soulmate. Find your Katsy, because that reaches beyond. That is timeless. That is forever. When it comes to outside the earthly realm, I really don't know much, but I do know one thing. I know that right now, somewhere, sometime, someplace, some way, my grandfather Saul has once again found his Katsy. We love you, Saul. Tell your Katsy we love her too.
In continuing tribute, I'm now proud to call up Saul's granddaughters, Rachel, Charlotte, and Zoe, my bat mitzvah students, Erica and Rich's daughters.
Our Solly baby, as everyone knew, Katsy affectionately called him. He was a man who lived up to his name, Sol, the sun. Born in July, Sol embodied the joy of summer year-round, and his warmth was, and still very much is, the soul of our family. My whole life, Sol has been there to ask, how are you? To cheer you on, to curse at life's bullshit, and mostly to celebrate the joyful moments, big and small. As kids, we would go to Katsy's house, but it was Sol's backyard. In the summer, Sol would take you out in his garden, and while it wasn't a huge yard, walks around the garden felt like such a journey with him. From the circle of daylilies to the wooden bench, the sundial, the fish pond, which came a little later for me, and of course, I can't believe none of you have mentioned the famous drain. All the boys peed in the drain, but we could. I loved exploring the garden with him. My favorite flower was always the bleeding hearts. And when they bloomed, he would take me into the back along the fence to find them. They were a strange but beautiful flower, hanging bright pink petals shaped like hearts weighing down the stem. Today I feel like those flowers. My heart is heavy with your loss, but yet so beautiful because of the life you built for us. At the end of every visit, Sol would walk us out to the car. He would stand in the driveway and wait for us to buckle. And as the car pulled out, he'd begin his goodbye routine. Nosies, tushies, elbows, wiggling and waving as you drove away. It was silly as we laughed it off, especially as we got older. He still would do it. But I think it was his way of giving us a little bit of his warmth to take home, a little bit of joy to make the sadness of leaving Katsy and Sol's a little easier. Like the sun, Sol, somehow I thought you would always be there. I took for granted your mortality, and today the world is a little less bright without your light. I wish I had more conversations, more embraces, more of your warmth. But I still know where to find you. Sol's warmth is in all the things he loved, and bright yellow roses in full bloom, and bowls of chocolate ice cream melting into soup, and fresh grilled Hebrew national hot dogs, and the cheers at the ball field, in pool days, and fresh Jersey corn and tomatoes, in every picture we capture as a family, and Jay takes a lot, and in every hug, in every sunny day. I love you, Sol. Elbows.
For 33 years, my grandparents have been my best friends. From a young age, when Sol would pick me up from school, we'd stop at King of Pizza for a slice and a lemonade, and then we'd head to what was then Veterans Stadium, where he would teach me how to keep immaculate score of the ball game and what was the difference between a two-seam and a four-seam fastball. To just 2 weeks before he died, when I sat on the couch with him for hours talking about our lives, telling stories and reminiscing of all the parties and celebrations we've had over the years. I'm also shocked no one's mentioned the time we got kicked out of Cooperstown, the restaurant, because we were singing Sweet Caroline at the top of our lungs. That was a favorite for him. If there was ever something that Sol made sure I always knew, it was how proud he was of our family, of his 3 kids, of all the grandkids, of his great-grandchildren. In fact, just 2 weeks ago, the very last time I saw Sol, he was giving nuzzies to his great-granddaughter, Ariella. More than anything, he made sure he knew how proud he was of the life he and Katsy built together. He would end each story he told me with a deep sigh, a faint smile. He would look over towards Katsy's chair and mutter, we had a good life. Sol taught me what it means to be a part of the family. From opening weekend at the pool, where you'd come around back, The gate was always unlocked. You just had to kind of put your hand up top. And the Phillies game was on his little TV. He knew how lucky he was. He would just stand back and watch all that he built. I don't know if Saul ever knew how proud I was of him. Well, I am so proud of you, Saul. You were our sunshine on a cloudy pool day. You were our biggest fan. Till the very end, till your very last day, you made us all so proud. Nosy Sally baby.
I didn't write anything. When I think of Saul, like, the permanent image in my brain is him standing outside as we drive away from the pool. So I thought that the best way to tribute Saul and really say goodbye to him one last time is for all of us together to say goodbye. We love you, Saul. Yeah, so they can't. You don't need to stand up. But, so, thank you.
Erica, your turn. You want to come up? No.
Hi. I just want to take a brief moment to thank the Spring Hill staff and his friends in his community. My family is so grateful for the care and support you gave to both our parents, Katsy and Saul, over the past 5 years. But more than caretakers to them, you all became friends, sharing with each other's stories. To a person, everyone at Spring Hills told me how they loved Saul and Katsy. They loved his humor, his kindness, his determination, and his independence. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
Shadows falling and I'm running out of breath. Keep me in your heart for a while. If I leave you, it doesn't mean I love you any less. Keep me in your heart for a while. When you get up in the morning and you see that crazy sun, keep me in your heart for a while. There's a train leaving nightly called When All Is Said and Done. Keep me in your heart for a while. Sha-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-li-lo. Keep me in your heart for a while. Sha-la-la-la, la-la-la-la-la-li-lo. Keep me in your heart for a while. Sometimes when you're doing simple things around the house, maybe you'll think of me and smile. You know I'm tied to you like the buttons on your blouse. Keep me in your heart for a while. Hold me in your thoughts. Take me to your dreams. Touch me as I fall into view. When the winter comes, keep the fires lit, and I will be right next to you. Engine drivers headed north to Pleasant Stream, keep me in your heart for a while. These wheels keep turning, but they're running out of steam. Keep me in your heart for a while. Sha-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-li-lo. Keep me in your heart for a while. Sha-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-li-lo. Keep me in your heart for a while. Keep me in your heart for a while. Our rabbis taught that there are 3 crowns: the crown of Torah, the crown of priesthood, and the crown of royalty. But they emphasized that the crown of a good name excels them all. The book of Ecclesiastes says, Tov Shem Mishemen Tov. A good name is to be treasured above precious oil. Wealth, health, even life passes away, but a good name lives forever. It is this view that the Talmud teaches. Monuments need not be erected for the righteous. Their deeds are their memorials. They will be remembered and revered for the kindness they have shown and for the love they have given. They are shining examples of what it means to be a mensch. We rise for the memorial chant. Malei rachamim, shochen bamromim, hametzei menucha nechona, tachat kanafei ashchina, im kedoshim utehorim, kizor arakia masirim, et nishmat Shlomo Shmuel ben Binyamin ve'Esther, shehalach le'olamo, Ba'al harachamim, yastirehu beseter knafav le'olamim, ve'yitzror b'yitzror achayim, et nishmato Adonai hu nachalato, v'yanuach b'shalom al mishkavo v'nomar amen. Fully compassionate God on high, to Saul who has entered eternity, grant him clear and certain rest with you in the lofty heights of the sacred and pure, whose brightness shines like the very glow of heaven. Source of mercy, forever enfold him in the embrace of your wings, secure his soul in eternity. Adonai, he is yours. May he rest in peace. And together we say, Amen. Please be seated. Interment will follow our chapel service this afternoon at Locustwood Cemetery, where Kaddish will be recited. A Shiva Minyan service will be held tomorrow night at Erica and Rich's home at 7 p.m.
this way, please. Come this way, please, Emmett, no.